This is TWiT. Should Microsoft buy Discord for $10 billion, and why would they?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
100%.
Are you a Discord user?
Oh, I'm a huge fan. I'm on there all the time. This is where every single cryptocurrency project calls their home. Like they use Discord servers.
Every open source project too.
Yeah, exactly. Open source projects. It's really gaining a ton of momentum, and how you can extend it in very unique ways with their API. There's just some really cool stuff going on there. It's yeah, I'm a huge fan. At first I thought it was just going to be all gaming.
It started that way.
It started that way,
yeah.
But it's extended much further than that now. So I think it's a great pickup for them. I don't think they'll get it for 10 billion, but I think it's a
no.
great
In fact,
pickup.
I think what happened, I'm just guessing. You might know better because you know how these things work. Is that Discord is considering an IPO, but they thought, well, let's float a dollar amount and see if we can get anybody to buy us. And then if not, well, we'll do the IPO and we'll make that much money anyway. It's interesting, though, the reason Microsoft is in the hunt, and apparently the conversations aren't currently ongoing, but the reason Microsoft's in the hunt is very interesting. Satya Nadella last month in an interview said that the future was going to be all about creation. He said the past technology has been about consumption, watching Netflix on your iPad, for instance, but that the future lies in creation, which is why Microsoft tried to buy TikTok, which is why Microsoft tried to buy Pinterest, and why Microsoft is now trying to buy Discord. I guess that makes sense. It wouldn't be the most expensive thing they've bought, but one of the most it would be right up there. I think would be the number 2 biggest acquisition, much more than they spent for Nokia or GitHub. Maybe even like LinkedIn would be the only thing that was bigger, I think. Amy,
I think
is the future in chat? Is that
so? Couple things. First of all, according to Microsoft 2 years ago, the future was AI. So the future changes.
Yeah, of course it does. Constantly.
But if you look at this possible acquisition as part of a broader constellation, here's where I think it gets interesting. So Microsoft is already the invisible infrastructure powering
Azure,
much of our everyday lives.
Their network
right?
service, yeah.
It's Azure. It's the back end of Crestron. Yeah, I mean, we don't think about it, but
it's not as big as AWS, but it's probably number 2.
Well, but it's
right?
it's not just cloud. It's core infrastructure and so many. It's a lot, right? If Facebook goes away tomorrow, you have a lot of small business collapse. You've got part of a social ecosystem collapse, but the world doesn't stop functioning. If Microsoft had some kind of catastrophic issue and poofed off the face of the planet, we don't. Much of business operations, critical infrastructure no longer works without Microsoft. So what I think is very interesting is that, it's got Git. It's Discord is. I'm on Discord for other reasons, but so you've got Discord. Microsoft is also built.
Let me ask you, actually,
Keybase?
parenthetically, you used to use Keybase for a secure chat with other parents and friends.
Yeah.
You use Discord now for that?
I started on Discord because of DEF CON. So that's why
where you could follow the DEF CON.
Yeah,
conference.
I just it's not my favorite platform, but I'm on it.
Keybase got sold to Zoom. Are you still using Keybase?
Yeah.
They didn't change. They're still around.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're spending any energy on it.
But in terms of content creation, I don't think that's the story. I think that's the story related to this particular set of purchases. Azure has a farm, so they're building out cloud for precision agriculture out in the field.
Yeah, that's
right.
A wild business.
In order to automate farming, which it gets no pickup or coverage. They've also built. It was Microsoft that's trying to figure out how to use DNA to store unimaginable amounts of data. So I think if you look at this constellation of things, which at first seem very unrelated, the story possibly into the future is that Microsoft is trying to figure out how to be the sort of next infrastructure layer.
Yeah.
Which is a smart move.
Yeah, that's
Very
what
smart.
xCloud is about. Their streaming gaming service is
and there's
about,
a lot of growth.
Is about that
in
as much
those
as it is
areas.
about gaming.
So I don't think this is like And I don't think Microsoft. I think TikTok is a something totally separate. But
I always assumed they would want something like TikTok for the data, for the just like LinkedIn and you know.
I think that's part of it, but Microsoft also has effectively its own corporate foreign service department, its own sort of Department of State within the company. In fact, it poached a lot of people from the State Department. So I think Microsoft is playing a slightly bigger, different game, and TikTok would have been a pretty nice bargaining chip to have had.
Kevin, the chat room, and I think a lot of our audience says they prefer Matrix and Element, which is an open source chat platform instead. What is Discord's closed source advantage over Matrix, for instance?
I haven't used a lot of the others. I basically go where the projects are, like where the founders are creating these new communities, and then Discord is just pretty much the standard, at least in the cryptocurrency space, which is where I spend probably 80% of my time evaluating new deals. And so it's I can't compare it to the others, but I will say some of the mechanics around what they've done with it in terms of the moderation and the bot integrations. I'll give you one really wild example. There was a Discord that to join, someone created an ERC20 token on Ethereum, and you had to own one of these tokens. And so if you owned one of these tokens and it was in your wallet, you could join, but the bot would then go and look at your wallet on the blockchain, confirm that you own the token to let you into the actual
that's clever.
Chat group.
That's better than
so
a
if you ever
password.
sold your token, but you could sell your token to someone else and they go up in value. So if the group's becoming more valuable, it's crazy. So some of the stuff I just see being done there is super creative.
Somebody in the chat room posted an article about Azure, saying that one of the reasons tech pundits have a hard time understanding all of the fingers and all the pies that Microsoft has is because it isn't the same as AWS. Is that, Amy? Is that what you're saying? It's more than just cloud. Yeah.
Again, Microsoft, I know, is not the world's sexiest company. However,
it's getting sexier. It's getting sexier. It is. It is.
It's got DNA.
It's got DNA. All over it.
Yeah. So I think part of it is, I don't know. That's an apt comparison because AWS is its own unruly, enormous thing too, and Amazon in many ways is just as decentralized in terms of all the work it's doing. But Azure, there is something called farm beats. So this is something they are specifically building for connected farming equipment. To enable a future of precision agriculture, which effectively means you don't have a bunch of farm hands and all the traditional people that you would need. You've got engineered crops that produce 10x the yield and require a fraction of the resources. That maybe that your two farmers are sitting in Bangladesh.
It's kind of basically an investment in what they see as what is going to be the next big thing. Is farming,
right, and if you think about the next big things in terms of not opportunity but risk, I think that's where some of this becomes more clear. We know that we've got extreme climate change and extreme weather events. We know that we have food insecurity. The global supply of food is at risk right now. So if you're thinking about your markets, 10, 15 years into the future, some of this starts to make more sense.
It's crazy how I feel like as an engineer, I see entrepreneurs that say, well, I choose the solution based on what I'm building, right? Like if you're going for some of the ML models that Google offers, with their custom silicon, or you want to even go with AWS, they're doing their own custom chips that are super efficient, low power, cheaper than,
for machine learning
chips.
Yeah.
So it's you kind of have to look and say, what am I building and who has the best solution for that?
Right. It also might
they're all
explain,
a little different.
We talked about this a month ago, why Bill Gates is the #1 farmland owner in America. Did you know that, Amy? He owns 242,000 acres of farmland. It's a good investment.
Yes and no. I think a lot of the future farming will be indoors and underground. So they're huge indoor plant factories. Again, once
salt mines full of vertical farming.
Yeah, and just we're pretty close to being able to engineer. We can already use synthetic biology to engineer crops in new ways, And we have many more people on the planet. We have the conditions used to determine how to grow things are less and less stable, meaning we have worse weather. A fifth of all garments that are made of cotton are, I think I've got this wrong. A fifth of all 1 out of 5 garments basically relies on cotton from China, which is my way of saying you've got geopolitical instability
huge
and
issue.
global supply chains. Yeah. So all of this starts to make a little bit more sense if what you're aiming for is easier geopolitics and better sustainability and better certainty in conditions. Then you want to, instead of like sourcing your cotton from Western China and then maybe it gets stuck on a barge in the Panama Canal, instead you grow these things underground or in warehouses, and you reduce a lot of that uncertainty.